Hey guys, some Gamer Dude here. So, DBZ followed in the footsteps of the other recently revived game, Kaijudo. It's dead, very small life, little growth, eventual death. But unlike Kaijudo, it died for business reasons, not a lack of game reaching expected growth targets. I'm not going to have a go at Bandai. It may have cost us Panini Z, but Bandai's put more effort into English Super than Panini did Pansy in just a solicitation. Instead, I'm going to look at Pansy critically, what it did right, where Score Z's attempts failed, and more importantly, where it went wrong or failed completely. So we can keep the blood pressure low till the end, let's start with what Pansy did right, and end with the groaning and depression. Did Pansy do right? Score isn't remembered as the most well-made or balanced game. Fun and unique, but not well-made or balanced. The problem with Pansy versus Score is that Reezy and, more importantly, GT exist. GT may be a continuation, but it's also another iteration of the game. Likewise, Reezy is different, but based off the same core mechanics. When we start looking at Pansy, it's made with what they learned from GT and Reezy. MP stacks that progress reasonably logically? GT did it. Highest level is useful? GT. Card types renamed? GT. No battlegrounds and locations? GT. Don't get me wrong, continuing from GT's example isn't bad at all. For the bad rap and how it ruined expanded Z plus GT, Focus GT is far more uniform, precise, and frankly better made than Score Z itself. Doesn't have the same appeal, but it's true, Focus GT is a better made game. Pansy using many of GT's refinements is a positive, not a negative. Pansy is probably what would have happened had GT never happened, which was originally the plan, or GT Loop to Z, which was also on the cards before Reezy happened. Pansy did innovate though, not much, but it did. Firstly, allies. Originally the allies were just personalities, 2 levels below your MP's max. So max 3 can use a 1, a max 4 uses 2s, a max 5 uses 3s. No distinction between them and MPs, all of them the same card type, just personalities. Not only is this inelegant, allies not being their own card type caused all types of problems in terms of balance, clarification, and errata. There's a lot of MPs that, when becoming allies, just break things horribly. Allies being their own card type nips all that in the bud and allows for flavorful interactions. Allies were also given the abilities of battlegrounds and locations, which were rightfully cut. Compressing them into one card type makes it much easier to manage on both a development and play side. Critical damage was also a massive boon for the game, giving everything anger control and ally control, not just ball capture. The second is really necessary, with allies taking double duty as allies in their original sense and battleground location type cards, which were hard to get rid of in the original game. MP stacks becoming a uniform 4 levels, needing to reach 4 with 5 anger to MPPV, and now having named cards reformed as extensions of the stack was also a good move as well. It stopped favoritism with certain MPs only reaching 3, but others reaching as high as 5, locking 3s out of MPPV. The named card change allowed MPs to augment styles with things they don't have naturally, or don't have very easy access to, such as Saiyan Broly and Saiyan Trunks giving Saiyan non-combat control. So, where did Pansy go wrong? It was probably never play-tested. This is a gut instinct and assumption from my part, but we know that the development team came from all over America. It is rumoured that they got paid very little and were not proper employees of Panini. Really, do you think the massive loopholes in Premiere regarding Namekian knowledge, or the terrible power imbalances, as well as the impractical archetypes sprouting from underpowered masteries and MPs, would have happened with proper playtesting? Probably not. Unfortunately, all these problems plagued the game from day one till its paper death. All games have similar issues, but generally not to the magnitude Pansy had. There was just so much garbage and so few things were playable. Then we have the distribution issues. A friend of mine posted my video on starters in retro, and it got some comments that randomization in TCGs is normal. That is true for packets and potentially tins, not entry-level products. This hasn't been industry normal for some 18 years when Magic used to have its, what were they, tournament packets or something? The boxes where it was the easiest way to get lands, and now Pansy's dead. No one does this nonsense. The decks are intended to be entry-level products. Pansies, and Scores for that matter, are abnormal. for the industry and consumer abusive. They are treated as packs, but for their purpose, they shouldn't be. No one else does, and being unique here isn't a benefit, it's a hindrance. How about the Ultra Rares? I will upload my now irrelevant and incomplete video on the subject, but I'll summarise here. As no one at Panini could be bothered to create a way to generate sales in a positive way, we again entered Score and GT's Ultra Rare Dominance issue. Got enough cash to splash on what easily became a dozen Ultra Rares, many of which at 75 plus USD. No, priced out of the game. I saw many saying that they were out with set 7, assisted Kamehameha was just the icing on the cake. It just became too much, and without those ultras, you weren't going past locals. I'm not sure if it's entirely true, however. Our results during set 6 disagree. However, this was before Unleashed got fully figured out, and it became apparent it just made every deck better, not just the Goku problem. It's not really even that the Ultra Rares existed either, it's just it causing such a huge gap between haves and have-nots, with no budget equivalents and the sheer scarcity of the Ultra Rare. Only those with money or more dollars than cents need apply. Lastly, homogenization. I like name cards in Pansy because they gave colours a way to do things they normally can't or can't easily. At least in theory. In practice, this isn't true at all. What's the anger style? Black, Namekian, orange. It's meant to be red, but red isn't necessarily the best at it at any given time. Orange and drills, red does it too. Blue allies, Namekian interacts with them more. By the end, there wasn't really any colour identity to speak of. At least two styles could perform any given niche competently, regardless of one having it as their main colour identity and the other not. It's not an issue of one aspect of the game being shared by multiple colours, if not all. Fundamentally, red and cyan are really similar, but the lack of real concept of major and minor focuses, along with the heavy pushes of things that really should have been minor aspects, just homogenizes everything. Maybe a card pool that only adds to its pool magnifies this, because by the end, everyone gets quite a significant amount of everything. But we do have masteries like Orange Retribution, which pretty much focuses on an aspect of the game not intrinsic to Orange: anger. There is also what a major part of deck's freestyle became. You only have 60 cards, but when 30% or higher of the deck becomes freestyle, decks just become a core that is built around, and the freestyle core only expands over time. I saw what eventuated a mile away during Premiere when time, hand control and visiting started the deck, being 10% of it, before the named cards, which could be another 10% of the deck if you run playsets of both. It comes to a point where styled cards just most as well not exist. That is not a positive. Now that Pansy developers are continuing the game digitally and proxies are legal for the format most people care about, a lot of this becomes irrelevant for future tournaments. Card accessibility is no longer an issue. They no longer have to produce OP freestyles at all. With it being community based and no NDAs, things can be properly tested before wide release. While no official paper may make many sad, and it does change how the game feels to play, I use proxies to test things myself, so I know it changes how things feel. This change does actually have some upsides for the game itself. With Panini out of the picture, it does kill the game for official support, and some establishments may not want to continue a fan-based game. But the game itself from a development side can only prosper now. You may need to print out your own with the images supplied, but the game should be better for it. And there is no real reason to quit anytime soon, not unless the developers show that it wasn't all just Panini causing issues, it was them. But hopefully that doesn't happen. This is Some Gamer Dude, and I've got some proxies to make.